Hi, this is David Fury, the co-writer and director of Lies My Parents Told Me.
This is D.B. Woodside, who plays Principal Robin Wood.
And this is James Marsters, who plays Spike.
And this is Drew Goddard, who is the co-writer of Lies My Parents Told Me.
Now, we open here in Central Park, New York, which is not Central Park, New York. It's, in fact, Griffith Park, Los Angeles, California. And we matted in shots of New York into some open spaces. Like you can see with that big wide open space behind them where they're fighting. We matted in some New York skyscrapers.
And this is one of the top 3 female stunt performers I've ever had a fight with.
Really?
She was fabulous, yeah. And really good stories in between shots. When you're wet late at night, you gotta have good stories.
She was also really beautiful, which also helped, so.
Yeah.
No, actually the actress
wasn't hard
was
on the
great.
eyes.
The actress was great, but I'm talking about the stunt performer.
Yeah, so am I. I dropped by that night.
Oh, yeah.
This actually looks incredibly. I'm surprised at how much it does look like Central Park in New York.
Yeah,
You guys did a really great job.
we found a good location that, yeah, I'm from New York as well, so,
We looked at a lot of places.
yeah, we did. But this was the one that just spoke to me. I said, this is where we can meet at the pavement, which really helped. They dressed those benches, which are accurate to what the benches looked like back in the 70s in Central Park.
Now, this woman right here is K.D. Albert, who actually played my mother. We actually did a movie a few months before we did this together, so we actually became really good friends.
Now, when I saw this on TV, there's some computer rain added in, but there's nothing here. What's up with that?
That was actually somebody had done that right before we delivered it to the network. Someone, and we don't know who, added in this rain shot. You'll see where the rain is. It's hard to see here when it's on her, just the way it's lit, but it's very clear when it's on young Robin. And someone added some digitized rain, which looked terrible.
It really did. It was terrible.
I so remember.
And I panicked. I saw it the day before it was to air, and I went, "Wow, what happened?" And there was a big scramble, and by the time it aired in the United States, they took out the fake rain. So that's all real fake rain,
And
as
yes,
opposed to the digitized one.
And yes, that is me that was thrown on the roof of that car, the hood.
Good sports.
This was fun. This was a lot of fun. And
I love the way this fight turned out.
one of my favorite parts is coming up this front double kick.
that little move that Spike does is actually an homage to Fool for Love, when you twirl a little pole
that's
inside the
great.
subway car.
Yeah,
So-
but you gave me a shovel, man. That was a little hard.
I knew you could handle it. That's always the fun thing to do, the staking reveal.
I love it. Spike gets to be an ass.
And this was a lot of fun to shoot because I always try to keep background action going on in the background.
I love how she just keeps pounding away
Yeah.
at the vampire.
And that was you really bleeding, I believe.
yeah. It's that splinter.
And in all seriousness, it was. I love the teaser. I love shooting that teaser. It was. I hadn't shot any fight scenes before as a director. I didn't get them in my first attempt. So this was my first go at it, and it turned out to be great fun. And it really helps when James and DB are both so willing to go as far as legally possible for actors in their stunts. And they'll go, yeah, I'll take that fall. I'll jump in. Yeah, I'll do this.
That's basically him saying that DB and James have a problem, and someone needs to come talk to them.
Yes,
Yeah, right there in the credits, you saw actually the shot I was doing an homage to with James spinning the pole.
I love that.
And, you gave yourself 2 fight scenes in a teaser.
Yeah,
Which is pretty ballsy.
That's a
man.
pretty action-packed
Yeah.
teaser. I agree. And then comes the very slow Act 1 beginning. That's actually an artificial push-in. I neglected to push it on DB, as I had wanted to when we shot that, because, new director. But we were able to add that electronically. There was a little slow push-in on him, which I really wanted.
This was a tough scene from the writing standpoint, Fiora. Do you remember this? We struggled with this scene. We probably did about 8 drafts of it.
Yeah, the biggest problem with it was its length.
Yeah.
Not that the scene, we knew what the scene could have in it, but if we put everything that the scene could have in it, it was an 8-page scene. It was long, and as well played and well acted as it is, it's just a long time to be in the same room.
And I think what we ultimately decided, we got a lot of the exposition out in this sort of who's on first homage that I love the way DB plays this.
Yeah.
This is actually a lot of fun for me. This actually was the first time that I ever worked with Anthony. It's the first time that I worked with him.
Tony brings up everyone's performance, I think.
Oh, he was just great. He's so much fun.
Have you seen the new library? There's nothing but computers. It's not a book. Oh, sorry. Yes,
That's one of those camera moves that I'm working on. Keep that camera moving in a very static scene with these people. And DB had this great thing where he comes when he says, "You're a freelance demon fighter," and he's like embarrassed and don't mention that, and goes to the door and closes it. And I think
that's one of those things my secretary doesn't know about. So.
Yeah. So it really helped to motivate the move to the desk.
I thought Sarah was so great in this scene. She has the ability to deliver comedy in such kind of this kind of low-key way, but it's hysterical.
I like that part right there. That part's less interesting.
Yeah, I can't disagree.
What about it?
I told you my concerns.
Here's the who's on first of it.
Long story.
The military put a chip in Spike's head, so
His eye work is outstanding here.
You know, we have a problem on our show as we become our worst enemy with our extensive mythology. And sometimes it's hard to just get into any of this. And one of the methods we use is to just completely make fun of ourselves. Because at the end of the day, it does get a bit ridiculous.
We don't know that.
Now, here's one of those flaws you learn about. I mean, it's something that's interesting because some people pick up on it and others don't. One of the things you try to, when you're shooting for is eye line. You see Buffy is looking off right now to the right, and so is Tony, and they're talking to each other, both looking off to the right. And that's actually technically incorrect. Although most people, unless I mention it, don't really notice it.
You know what? I
probably
did not notice that.
So I probably shouldn't have mentioned it.
Wow, I did not notice that.
Yeah. Because Tony's being shot from Robin's point of view.
Right.
Right now. Although he's conversing with Buffy, so it kind of throws.
But you know what? In some strange way, it works because you've set it up in the master, so we know where everybody is.
That's I think how we get away with it. These are the things you learn.
I do remember thinking that this was the worst eye-lined episode I had ever been a part of.
What are you doing here?
Thought you might need support.
No beam, a disarming spell.
Again, another scene that was very difficult to write because so much exposition had to be explained about what it is they're doing to Spike, what the stone, this magical, mystical stone, what it does.
And yet the characters are still in conflict, which keeps propelling it nicely.
This was definitely, I don't know how you feel on this, Fury, but this was one of the most difficult scripts to write. I mean, because there's so much, who's the good guy, who's the bad guy, some scripts you have a very clear thing. This one is very, the shades of gray take a long time to sort of suss out.
Well, to be honest with you, that was not so much, for me, that was not the more difficult part. The more difficult part was, as you were saying, there's so much mythology, there's so much backstory, there's so much hidden agendas, there's so many things that need to be expressed, or you feel need to be expressed, that it can be in danger of bogging down the story and clouding it. The grays in there, I kind of enjoy the fact that we're sympathetic to Spike and we're sympathetic to Principal Wood
and Giles.
Giles, you know.
Yeah, but then you go and stick a worm in my eye, and that's cool.
Little CGI effect. It was a long time trying to get this the right looking stone. Our prop guy spent a long time trying to find the right stone that would look the way it was described.
You know what's wonderful about this scene also is I remember standing there that day, and it was kind of a long day, and watching James do this over and over and over again. And what's amazing to me is how great the acting is when you don't even know what it's going to look like at the end of the day. And I just remember seeing this and thinking, I just loved it. It was great.
This was also a little bit of a tricky shot, the money shot, which is the transition piece for going into Spike's head. And I wanted to have him seeing himself as a young man, pre-vampire. I so enjoyed the first thing I wrote because I had to write the scene for when we were casting the mother, Spike's mother, Anne. I had to write this scene, and so the first thing I wrote was the poem, and I was so proud of how badly
It's hard to write.
I could write a bad Victorian poem.
It's hard to write good, bad poetry.
Yeah.
And they finally spent some real money and actually built a wig for me and gave me these mutton chops, which, to tell you the truth, I know they're period, but they look kind of weird to me.
Yeah, you know, the thing that troubled me was that we could not match you the way we did, the way you looked when we'd last seen you in Fool for Love in this.
They'd already cannibalized that wig for other pieces.
But you would think they'd be able to completely copy it. You'd think that, you know, and yet they wanted to put their own touch in it or something.
If you finally gave them money, so they wanted to do it real period.
Yeah. Well,
that's what you get for giving artists money now.
Won't do that
fancy.
Won't do that again.
I love how this scene really sets up the relationship that he has with his mother.
Yeah. It's really seeing Spike as William, his humanity, and the love he has for his mother. And to not make him too much of a mama's boy. Like, he of course he is. But
because he sits at her feet.
Yeah.
Well, while she sings.
But no, you know.
All right, he's a mama's boy, but there's such genuine love when he says, you know, I'll always take care of you, or whatever. It's very sweet and warm. And another tricky effect shot because James had to keep his head still to match this.
Which is really hard for James to do.
That's hard for anyone, but he does it beautifully. And that was actually really nice. His eyes changed first, which was, we'd never done sort of a two-part morph before.
And here's where you just don't think about how silly you feel. Because all the really cool stuff's being done later, and I'm just freaking out for 15 minutes.
Yeah. And that took a half an hour to drop the stone and get a shot of it in frame. You know what? When in doubt, always push in on DP.
Yeah.
Get these sodding things off.
I love this scene because Spike is in absolute denial, and it's hilarious. It's like everyone else's fault but his. Anything but what's really happening.
When I was a baby.
Yeah, when I was a baby. It's like she was singing when he was 30 years old. Yeah, when I was a baby. Oh, it is an interesting thing. I mean, Drew, remember this scene actually started the act. We didn't come back to Spike right away. And there was a longer extended scene that Drew had written. There was a really funny exchange between Xander and Tom Lank as Andrew that we just couldn't get to work. And it didn't quite, it worked so much better to break it up like this because we'd been in the cellar for so long that it was better that we broke it up rather than start the act with this and then go to the cellar.
Wasn't there also a scene with DB and me in the kitchen?
In the kitchen,
Yes,
yeah.
another scene
that whiskey bottle.
Yeah. Another scene that broke my heart to lose.
This episode came in at, what, 12 minutes over?
Yes, which is ironic since a lot of my episodes come in short. But you see, when I shoot them, I shoot every little detail. And
What do you do?
I'm going to unchain him. Didn't know anything. Your prophylactic
of
stone
course,
didn't work.
the stage whisper that obviously Spike can hear every word they're saying. But we're pretending he can't. There's that super vampire hearing. It's a transition I liked doing. It's Spike just looking at his hand, and then this hand slips into it, and
Now, I'll tell you right now,
Juliet.
one of the things that I think makes this show so special is, for instance, this scene right here, where you're able to capture these two people who are absolutely terrifying, you know, and yet there's a kind of humor to it that's just pitch perfect.
That's the magic to me of Spike and Drusilla, that they were perversely funny and yet terrifying.
Yeah, it's kind of like Bonnie and Clyde.
And yet genuinely care about each other. I think that's the key to the villains in the Joss Whedon universe is they actually have an agenda and they care about things as opposed to just being evil.
Yeah.
And there's something about Juliet that got me to a place I couldn't get any other time. I can just be dirtier when I'm with her. She can go.
She's blowing in your face right now, which I remember.
She's drying my eyeballs out. I couldn't do my lines.
Yeah, he was. Spike and Drusilla are so iconic, and the two of you it was such a pleasure to shoot this iconic couple for the last time in the Buffy mythology.
What you got so well was the intermediate, for my character anyway, the intermediate step between being William and Spike, which we'd never done before.
When you were Spillium.
I thought that's when I got the script, I thought that was really, really cool.
I remember coming down to set and watching Fury and James working so hard on that. You guys really worked on getting that Spillium, as you say, over and over, which I don't think a director who hadn't written it would have. And so it was
Probably
really
not.
Yeah.
But it's James, if you look at his collar right now, I mean, James just messed up his collar because he wanted that's part of his suit coming undone, his whole appearance becoming undone and turning closer to Spike.
Because he's been out partying for 2 days or something, right?
And unfortunately, the costumer kept straightening your collar between shots. And you said, "Leave my collar alone. I'm trying. This is a thing. It's my character." I owe a huge debt of gratitude to the actors for their amazing performances in this, and James and DB. And the actress here played his mother, whose name, unfortunately, I can't think of. And please forgive me. It was there at the beginning of the show, and I've neglected to look. But she's a wonderful, wonderful, I think she did an amazing job.
Yeah.
She was great.
I was very happy with her. And I think what you two do together is amazing.
The thing, though, Dave, is you were really very specific. You were one of the most specific directors, you and Joss, as far as acting, as far as doing a take that so many other people would have taken and moved on and moved me just like a 1 millimeter the other way. And I thought you were one of the two best directors for actors, you and Joss.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And what I actually loved about you with me is you really, really gave me room and space to kind of bring other things in, to kind of mix it up. And no one actually had done that on the show before as a director. And I think I feel that in this episode is my best performance, and I actually feel like I owe it to, number one, the writing of you guys, the directing, and of course my co-star here.
While
just
we're
kept pushing me to be better.
While we're praising David Fury here,
you know what I love about you guys is how much you loved working with me.
No, I will just say that as a writer, there's so many different ways a director can screw things up, and it was just such a joy to watch and see everything get infinitely better every time. And it's a credit to Fury, and it's a credit to you guys, and our entire cast. I think.
Frankly, I mean, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. It's just I'm so proud of this episode. I'm so proud to be a part of the way this turned out. And this is my favorite scene.
Yeah.
This scene right here.
And it's interesting that this is your
Tony
favorite
and I.
scene because this was a scene that really kicked your butt.
Well, that's why it's my favorite. Is because I probably did 12 drafts of it, and finally, Fury came in and just rewrote all of it, and it turned out great.
Well, more so, I think I saw in it. I guess I had the picture in my head of how it could work. I mean, there's a concern here because Giles is making a big character turn here, and that he is going to side with the idea of killing Spike after Spike has been so much of an ally so often that people had a hard time buying it. But it's because of I believe, I knew in my head the way these guys were going to perform it, and I knew that DB would deliver it in such a way that would make such a convincing argument that you would buy that Giles would see the logic in it and see that for the greater good, Spike needed to go, as much as it may have pained him. And I really think I have to say, DB, this is I think it's one of my very favorite scenes that you ever did, is a scene with Tony.
And I love this scene because when you guys shot it, I got to take a nap. I love this. Get it right, David. Get it everything you need.
Well, it was probably a very long nap because I always took.
I like a long nap.
A long time.
What I loved about this scene was being able to really open this character up in a vulnerable way, and not do all the kind of yelling and screaming that this is what we need to do, but really to kind of open up and allow Tony to see this character's pain, and then from that place, even though he's talking in a lot of pain, there's still logic to what he's saying, and trying to fuse those two was difficult but a lot of fun that day.
I love this moment here. When that emphatic never. In fact, so much so that I really wanted to be on DB. I mean, in the editing, it almost pained me to cut off him. And I think we did it for Tony's reaction, but it was a very powerful moment, I think.
Well, you got to have his reaction.
Yeah, because it's ultimately what it's about. Now here's where we cut to the very first shot that I shot in the show, which is the walk and talk in the cemetery. But what had actually come before it was the scene we were talking about in the kitchen. There's a scene where essentially DB is stalking through the house toward the kitchen, seeing Spike in the kitchen, and basically it's moving in on him and setting him up for the trap. And there was a great little scene between you two guys where you're sort of playing a little chess match, where we used a bottle of whiskey that you're pushing back and forth. It's almost like chess moves, as you were kind of feeling each other out. And I really missed the fact we had to cut that scene. But
well, you wrote a movie and you had to shoot a TV show.
Yeah.
You wrote 90 minutes, really. We could have made.
Well, I'll be turning in much shorter scripts from now on.
Only underscores the importance of the lessons I can impart to you.
Oh, the other thing about the scene, there was I believe a Cinco de Mayo party going on at the time we were shooting, or some such thing. There was a mariachi band playing through this entire scene.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And we had to wait between songs to get little snippets of dialogue. And so it took us forever to shoot this scene. It was the first night, and it was because somebody was on a loudspeaker shouting in Spanish something, and then a mariachi band would play. And it was very funny for the longest time, and then it became sort of tragic as we were trying to make our night.
It got ridiculous because it started with just helicopters and cars honking, and you would say what possibly could happen next, and then a mariachi band started playing. And we're in I want to point out, we're in a cemetery. Somebody had a mariachi party right next to a cemetery.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's a party town.
This little room here is where James and I spent a lot of days.
Quality time with DB.
And I remember we spent some long nights in there, and I felt bad because I felt like maybe possibly James and I were getting on everybody's nerves because we were so jazzed doing this.
Yeah.
It's like we had done like, I don't know, like taking 2 bottles of Mountain Dew or something, bouncing off the walls. But it was great.
I don't think anyone was ever. I think, in fact, you infused so much energy and so much care from everyone. I think it raised the bar for everyone to make these scenes great between you two. In terms of setting up the stunts, in terms of the lighting, we did a lot of 360s and 180s, and in that regard, that we can move the camera in a kind of a wide arc and kind of use the space because it was kind of built to be lit from above, so we didn't have to have lighting, and it made quite a difference. And I know that I love this. This whole scene is great. I just always love the setup of DB in the foreground.
Not much for self-reflection.
Yeah, makes sense.
And I love how you let me just stay still. A lot of directors want me to move around. I think it's so much.
I love that too, actually.
No, this is you feeling everything out. And you're not going to be moving around a room full of crosses anyway. It's like, I'm going to stay away from the walls. Oh, the shirt. DB, should we talk about the shirt?
Oh my God, I totally forgot about that.
We had such a discussion. DB wanted very much to be wearing
the tank top.
The tank top
for the most.
And I totally got that. I totally wanted to see him in it. But by the same token, we had a stunt that we were going to do that we do in the next act that would have made wearing that shirt impossible. There was no way to hide the harness that would needed to pull him back. So. We went back and forth with it, discussing like, can you lose the shirt? Can you be in the tank top?
Can we get it back on?
How do we get it back on? How do we make it all seem seamless and not like I'm taking the shirt off and putting it back on? I'm taking the shirt off.
But you have to believe that this guy could beat up a vampire, and when DB takes his shirt off, you're like, oh, okay.
No, it was. I was so there. I so know, and that's why I said, you know what? He's absolutely right. We need him to look like this. But how do we get the shirt back on?
For me, it's also just so, in the acting, to be so physical and so brutal that way just kind of would add to the little twist at the end, getting my butt kicked.
There he is.
You got every act ends on DB space.
I loved this scene right here.
This was, I think I had the best time ever shooting this scene.
This day was
because of these two, because of James and, oh my God, I wish I could remember her name.
Is her name Anne or?
Her name in the script.
The character's name is Anne, which is actually, for those Buffy fans, it's never mentioned in the script in the dialogue, but it's of course Buffy's middle name. And
I did not know that.
Yes, so I purposely named her Anne to because there is definitely we wanted, a little bit of a, there's a mother connection. There's sort of a symbolic connection there between Spike and his mother and Buffy and what Buffy's been to Spike and all the Oedipal issues that would be involved there. It just seemed like a nice touch.
I remember you running into my office saying, we found the woman, she looks like Sarah at that age.
Yeah, we just thought. Well, she had the blonde hair, and she was small. Yeah, she was, and she was British, which was wonderful, because part of the thing is finding an actress who can do a good British accent.
Oh, I love this scene. Yeah. This scene, our first drafts of this, we didn't push it far enough, and Josh came in and said, no,
more twisted,
which. I hated hearing, of course, because I'm very conservative.
Oh, yeah. Safety first, right, Trip?
Yeah. I had to call my mom before this episode and say, Mom, I love you very much, and this whole scene about possibly having sex with you has nothing to do with it.
He made me do it, Mom.
No, I don't. I used to hate to be cruel in life.
And the wonderful thing is here is just the matter-of-factness of her cruelty.
Oh yes, it's beautiful.
Yeah, and you worked a long time for this one right in here.
Yeah,
You really,
and she was wonderful because she
she.
totally got it. I mean, even when she realized, you know what, I'm becoming too arch, I'm becoming too villainous, and I'd say, yep, you're right. Bring it back. Just be casual. And when she did, it was very chilling, I thought. And the pain that watching you go through this pain as she's saying these words to you is fascinating. And it's also offered a lot of controversy. I mean, there's been a lot of controversy with my opinions about Spike, and about the nature of Spike. And a lot of people concerned, why is Spike letting her talk to him that way? Why is he so hurt? I mean, he's a vampire. Why does he seem, And I think that was the point of this episode, was to say, Spike is an anomaly in the vampire world.
Yeah.
He has some facet of his soul, even if it was removed when he became a vampire, is still there. He has more humanity as a vampire than most vampires do. We haven't explained why that is, but perhaps something about the character of him as a man. He's retained it as a vampire.
Yeah, I mean, it's a kind of a technicality that you have to explain. I mean, it works as the character.
This section here,
I think it
is
does.
so brutal.
Yeah.
When you snap her neck!
Now, here's an interesting story. Tony wasn't here for this scene. I had to shoot this scene with Sarah and the stunt double. This was the first night, and we let Tony go because we were running late, and we shot Tony's side of it 10 days later.
I did not know
Tony's
that.
not even. They're not even in the same space. What I did was I used the stunt doubles to tie him in. That's the only shot I had of Tony. That's now the stunt double 10 days later. And it works. It's amazing. It's the magic.
Does. It
it's
works
the magic
really
of
well.
editing, and he seems like he's in the same space as her, but she wasn't there that night.
Yes.
That's the stunt double hitting the.
Should I kill this guy yet?
No.
So good.
It is. I mean, it's so wonderful that he can deliver that performance
Very,
when
very
he's not.
simple.
He's not getting,
No.
but he's not getting the lines from Sarah. They're being read very flatly off screen by somebody, and yet he's able to deliver a performance that seems to be right on top of hers.
And yet there is Spike.
It was also shot. I should also say his part was shot in an entirely different cemetery. So it's not even the same place, much less the same time. He's in a different part of the cemetery entirely.
It was so wild because I really connected to this character.
Maybe
And that's
getting
what
his
the
shirt back
did.
on.
There you go. And it was so wild to be in this moment and to think that you finally, I mean, that this character has been searching for this one vampire his entire life. Here he is, finally, somewhere in Sunnydale, he's found the vampire that has killed his mother, which changed his life forever. And it was just this kind of surreal moment for me. Kind of.
You went to a place as an actor. I saw it in you that you went to a place. I saw tears streaming down your face.
Oh, it was.
And I was flabbergasted. I went, my God, he's there. That's brilliant that you could do that.
I gotta tell you, as an actor though, it's when everything just kind of locks up. When you have the writing, the directing, and working with James was, well, let's just put it this way: I've been spoiled, and now I'm dreading the rest of my acting life. So James and I got to find something to do together. It's like independent movie.
You surely will.
Seriously.
We'll bring you on to Angel.
No, man, this job got a lot more fun when DB came on board. I finally got someone to be in conflict with again.
Yes.
Now, this storyline, the Spike side of it, we originally conceived for Never Leave Me. It was
That's right.
episode 9, Spike.
After Sleeper, the episode where we're trying to get to the root of what the song was. We talked about exploring it there, yeah.
And we broke the story with all these flashbacks in it, and then decided it was just way too much for one episode.
And now Spike wakes up.
Oh.
Sorry. You think sorry?
Now DP gets to take the beating.
Yeah.
And it was really important that he gets in a couple of legs.
I don't give a piss about your mom. She was a slayer. I was a vampire.
What I like, though, is you still don't know that he's going to lose because he doesn't believe it.
Right.
He just has this blind conviction that he's like, no.
Well, he's the good guy. Yeah. You know, he's this.
It kind of keeps
he's
coming.
Righteous.
It keeps coming. It keeps coming.
Well, that's the rub, isn't it? You didn't sign up for it, and somehow it's my fault.
You took my childhood. You took her away.
No, I totally believe that the Principal Wood could win. We've seen him dust 3 or 4 vampires already.
You weren't hers.
Right.
Doesn't that piss you off?
Shut up. You didn't
He
know.
lands a kick.
Look at that. Yeah.
This was great,
But
right
Spike
here.
is superhuman. Okay, here's the stunt that we needed.
Wow.
Baby.
That's what we needed the harness for. That's why we needed the shirt back on.
Life of the chosen one. The rest of us be damned. Your mother was no
In
different.
another life, they probably could have been friends. Spike and
I think if
Wood.
the show had continued and Spike had not sacrificed himself, I think that probably would have happened.
For you,
Ultimately.
I'll tell you a story.
All right, and here comes this shot, right? Is this the one we did
Yeah,
like about
yes.
4 or 5 days later?
Yeah, the reason was that I shot this. It was this was the shot, and James's performance to me was so riveting and so moving that I went, I don't need a close up because it was so brilliant.
Well, and we were also pressed for time a little bit. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, I was pressed for time. Yeah, every instant I think I was out there. But besides that, I said no. It was I was practically weeping how great it was, and it was only the next couple of days later that I went, you know, and we were back in the space again. So I said, let's do that close up. So yeah, so James turned it back on. We put him back in the makeup with the burn on his face, and he delivered it.
Man,
Yeah, you had
this
to go
show for me was all about putting that burn makeup on and off, and keeping that,
and delivered. And I was so glad I got the close-up. I'm so glad. As brilliant as you were on the over-the-shoulder, the close-up really helps out.
And I got to walk across the room as if I was very tired, which I always like to do that. I'm serious.
Oh, there's the tears. Those are real tears.
Yeah.
Those are DB's real tears.
Every take.
And I was staring at the monitor going,
It's
wow.
all because of James's performance. I'm telling you, he just kept giving it and giving it and giving it, man. It was incredible.
I just wanted you to know that. Before I kill you.
a lot of morphs in this episode. I remember we did one take where DB screamed when James bit into him. This passionate scream, which is very powerful, but it didn't seem right for our show. We just usually don't play the horror of being bitten by this creature. So, but it was like a very gallant effort.
And one of the few guy-on-guy bites I ever had.
It was beautiful.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. You know, our fans, I'm sure, were crying for it.
No, James bites like no one else I know.
Oh, baby.
That's true. I can attest to that.
Now, remember, Drew, this was the scene that that Giles confesses to having killed Ben, which we thought, or I thought, was pretty relevant in this circumstance. Because he's telling Buffy she won't go to the mat when it comes down to killing Spike for the greater good. And Giles, I thought, really needed to tell her, I killed Ben. Here was an innocent Ben who I killed to keep Glory from coming back. I mean, that was the end of season 5. And I was so adamant that it must be in there, and we shot this long speech of his confession. And when we looked at it afterwards, we went, nobody cares. Nobody wants to hear about Ben. That was 2 seasons ago. And I built the whole scene around that, and they went, oh, okay.
No, you were so passionate about it.
I was.
I raised a minor objection, and you slapped me.
I did.
Right in the face.
Which is not the last time I've slapped
That's
you.
enough talk back from you, Goddard.
Yeah. Well,
Now, the one request I have is that when you guys bring Spike back, okay?
Yes.
Can he please come back without my mother's jacket? Give him a cool jacket. I mean, you know.
No promises, my friend.
I actually love this scene with Sarah and I. She was so incredible this day. She really actually took care of me this day. She didn't want me to exhaust myself emotionally until the close-up. She was very, that I could keep it in for all her stuff. She just wanted me to save it for my side. She was wonderful this way. Really giving.
And she knew exactly what she wanted to do in the scene. She knew she wanted to walk in, help you up, and then walk back and take in the room. And she really made all the decisions. And they're correct.
I'm preparing to fight a war, and you're looking for revenge on a man that doesn't exist anymore.
Buffy, don't delude yourself. That man still exists.
Spike.
Oh man, his eye makeup was making you crazy too.
Oh yeah, it was
and
brutal.
I was just like, I so feel for you because they used to do the same thing to me, man.
We just needed to, it was really important to show that DB, or Principal Wood, I should say, when he takes a beating, from a super
really
strong vampire, he pays for it. Because we often see Buffy and Spike taking beatings, but because of their super strength, we never have to put much makeup on them. They never get that badly hurt. But DB getting worked over by Spike we needed to show that this was pretty devastating to his body.
I love that last line and how it just ripped right through his heart.
Echoes his mother.
And this episode is all about killing your parents, both literally and figuratively. And I think what we sort of, Fury, when we were talking about this, we sort of realized in the story that Giles, in a way, Buffy is severing the ties with her father in this scene.
Well, that's how, originally I titled the episode, I think, Mother and Son. And it was Drew that made me realize that it's not just about Spike and Wood and their mothers. It's about Buffy and her father figure, Giles, which prompted us to change the title to Lies My Parents Told Me.
Great title.
And there's our bosses. Our glorious bosses.
Man, I stay for the whole thing. I'm never going to buy those T-shirts. You knew that. Come in for 10 minutes, man.
Hey, we're still on,
Okay.
Yes, James was buying T-shirts. These are some wonderful people who work on Buffy. Anyway, that's it from me, David Fury.
And DB Woodside.
Bye-bye, I'm James.
And Goddard. Thanks for listening.
Sweet.